Welcome to the NC Everything podcast. I'm your host, Curtis, and this is the bi-weekly show where I talk about everything that has anything to do with North Carolina. With me here is the co-host of Tasting NC, a show where we taste everything that has anything to do with North Carolina. We're covering one of the biggest produced crops in North Carolina today, the sweet potato. The reason we're doing so is because Thanksgiving is coming up, and sweet potatoes. Right? You want to say hey?
Hello.
So what we're going to do here, I don't have like 6 pages of research on sweet potatoes, but I got a little bit of research on it. And then Jamie has made some sweet potato dishes. And so we're going to talk and try these dishes. You want to kind of run down what we have here?
We have sweet potato pinwheels. It's a tortilla with a cream cheese base. I spread homemade cranberry sauce and just mashed sweet potatoes, and then I rolled them up and sliced them. That could be used as an appetizer for Thanksgiving if you want. We have sweet potato chocolate pepita scones. I have some sweet potato french fries. There's chorizo and sweet potato quesadillas. I have a chorizo, sweet potato, black bean chili. And then we have a chickpea and sweet potato stew that's inspired by the Senegalese peanut stew from Africa.
I think you told me you were going to make 3 or maybe 4 dishes.
Well, I had to cook the chorizo for the quesadilla, so I said, well, I might as well I didn't need all the chorizo for the quesadilla, so I made chili. So we can have chili this week.
One thing I want to say before I get into this is I've been sick for a couple of days, so I think I'm getting better, but I'm not there yet. My brain's not working that good, and I don't feel that good. So excuse me if I'm not my normal charming self. And I'll try to edit out any coughs and sneezes that may come up during the show. All right, so what do you want to do? You want to hear about sweet potatoes? All right, the history of sweet potatoes. The sweet potato is a dicotyledonous plant.
I don't know. Dicotyledonous, that's exactly what it's...
Yeah.
We need Matt.
Yeah. The scientific name is Lepomia batatas. It belongs to the bindweed or morning glory family, which I feel like I didn't know that, but then it sounded familiar at the same time.
Now that I think about it, the vine actually does kind of look like morning glory leaves.
It's native to the tropical regions of South America and what is present-day Ecuador.
I wonder if that's where the potatoes in the scientific name.
It says it's native there, but then later it says that they were growing in the United States. Native Americans have been growing for thousands of years. Somewhere in here it says they even believe the dinosaurs might have fed on sweet potatoes. Let's see where I'm at. The earliest cultivation of the sweet potato, they think, was 750 BC in Peru, but they think archaeological evidence shows that it may have been as far back as 2500 to 1850 BCE. And of course, this has come up with strawberries, and it's come up with pumpkins, I think. But Christopher Columbus, he arrived in the New World.
He took them back to Europe.
Yep, he found that they were growing this sweet potato. He takes them back to Europe. And, of course, like most American things, it blows up in Europe. And so they started growing them all over, but they just called them potatoes in Europe. They didn't call them sweet potatoes. It wasn't until after 1740 that the term sweet potato began getting used. And that was only to distinguish it from the white Irish potato. And this little section ends, which I should have put this earlier. The sweet potato itself is actually not a potato at all.
Mm-mm.
It belongs in the root family. What else belongs in the root family? Carrots, right? Is that a root?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, but...
Turnips a root?
Yes.
So
radishes?
Yep. So sweet potato is part of the root family, while the potato is a tuber. And what is in the tuber's root?
Potato? Rutabaga, maybe? I don't know.
Oh, I thought you would know. That's why I didn't research that part myself. So sweet potato is a root. The actual potato, or the regular potato, Irish potato, is a tuber.
It makes sense because a sweet potato is attached to the vine when you dig it up, and you have to whereas a potato is attached to the root.
Yeah.
So when you dig a potato up, it's not attached to the green.
So if you go to the grocery store now, you'll find sweet potatoes, but you'll also find yams. At the grocery store, most likely you're just getting sweet potatoes. You're not getting yams. There's a big difference between yams and sweet potatoes.
I'm thinking you're talking about the canned, like Bruce's yams for candy yams.
Yeah.
My grandma actually usually cooked her sweet potatoes to make candy jams instead of buying Bruce's jams, but it's a sweet potato.
Let's see what I got here.
Sorry.
Oh no, that's what I want. I want you to talk.
Yams are actually African and native to Africa and Asia.
So what my notes kind of saying is a yam is a little bit softer than your normal sweet potato. And when they first started growing them here in North America, there wasn't any reason to differentiate between the two. And it said that enslaved Africans had been calling the softer sweet potato yams because they resembled the yams from Asia and Africa. And thus sweet potatoes were referred to as yams, just to differentiate between the softer and firmer variety. I want to put a note of what actual yam was.
I actually, if you don't mind, I was actually looking at it while I was taking a bath.
Yeah, so I'll cut this out, but we'll look up what actual, I forgot to put this in my notes, we're going to look up what an actual yam is. But yams and sweet potatoes are two completely different vegetables.
It's a tuber.
Oh. So, like I was talking about earlier, the sweet potato is in the root family, and the potato is a tuber. The yam is also a tuber. So, the yam, I guess, it resembles the sweet potato, but it is in a completely different family.
It's a genus Dioscoreae from the family Dioscoreaceae. I wish Matt was here because he's good. He's the botanist.
But I'll end this section by telling you that most of the yams you buy in North America are actually sweet potatoes, not true yams. As far as North Carolina and agribusiness goes, sweet potato production is 300. This is based on 2020, by the way. I couldn't find anything more recent. Sweet potato production is a $350 million business. That's per year. Sorry, $350 million per year.
Do we really eat that many sweet potatoes?
That comes down to about $1,000 per acre, compared to corn, which makes about $100 to $200 per acre. Same with soybeans. Most of the sweet potatoes are grown in Wilson County, Johnston County, Nash County, Edgecombe, and Sampson County. And acreage has more than tripled since the 90s.
I wish they would label in the grocery store, especially in North Carolina, if it was a North Carolina sweet potato and where it was grown. I wish they'd do that for all the vegetables in the grocery store, but
yeah, there are different varieties of sweet potatoes. But the one you're probably going to see the most is called the Covington. Apparently in 1990, North Carolina sweet potato growers were really unhappy with the way the sweet potatoes from Louisiana had been producing. And I wonder if
that would be the Beauregard.
It was the Beauregard. So the Beauregard variety was really inconsistent in size, shape, density.
Oh, yeah, because I've seen massive, and then I've seen itty-bitty ones with Beauregard.
Well, an NC State scientist named Craig Gincho, who's a leader of the sweet potato and potato breeding program, he kind of got wind of all this frustration about the Beauregard. And so he kind of gets a group together and
get down.
And they come up with this sweet potato that was initially known as NC98-608. Eventually it was named the Covington after Henry Covington, who was a longtime NCSU extensive specialist who helped build the sweet potato industry in North Carolina. So that's why I think Covington. And that's a lot better than NC98-608. So,
Sounds like Stitch. Experiment 626.
yeah. Anyway, they tried out this new Covington, and year after year, growth after growth, the sweet potatoes were the same size, same density. I mean, super consistent. And so 90% of the sweet potatoes grown in North Carolina today are Covingtons.
I wonder if the Beauregards are the ones that are more red.
I couldn't tell you.
Whole Foods, when you go in there, they usually label their sweet potatoes of what variety they are. And I've seen Beauregard somewhere, and I want to say probably that's where it was.
Yeah.
But it's been several years since I've been into a Whole Foods. So.
Well, North Carolina is the biggest sweet potato grower of sweet potatoes for the United States. Not necessarily the world, but we do export a ton to the UK and the Netherlands. In 2020, our exports were around 1 million. No, in 2020, our exports were around 150 million annually.
Pounds?
No, $150 million.
Dollars, okay.
Yeah, annually. So we do export a ton. I think I had read somewhere, I don't have my notes, that
Don't you do it.
that China was one of the world's biggest sweet potato growers. China? I think it was China.
I think I read that too.
Yeah. But North Carolina produces more sweet potatoes for the United States than any other state.
Sorry, our cats are being cats.
Let's see. Now, as far as North Carolina specifically, I meant to actually move this in a different place in my notes. So I'm basically like I'm taking a step back. But in North Carolina, they believe the Native Americans were growing sweet potatoes here long before European colonization. And some scientists believe that sweet potatoes may have been food for the dinosaurs. North Carolina is the number one state in sweet potato production. Wilson and Johnston counties are the top producers. But there are more than 60,000 acres throughout the state that grow sweet potatoes. I mean, that's a lot. And most of it's on the coastal plain, which I knew that. Other varieties. It talks about the different varieties. It says there's hundreds of varieties, but they're usually orange, but they can be white, purple, or even deep red. Jamie's grown some purple sweet potatoes. I've seen them.
But they're not, they kind of get gray when you cook them. They're,
Oh, do they?
Yeah. They lose a lot of their, pop.
Other varieties include the Jewel, the Carolina Ruby, and the Puerto Rico 198.
The rubies are probably the ones that are really red.
Could be.
But, you can get a bag of sweet potatoes and cut them open, and they're different shades sometimes.
Yep. As far as nutrients, sweet potatoes are high in vitamin A and C and very low in fat. So it makes them a good source of nutrients for diabetics. They are also high in potassium, magnesium, and phosphorus. And if you don't know, the sweet potato is North Carolina's state vegetable. Let me scan this real quick. Let's see, early discussions, I don't want to say that. In the 80s, they were discussing making a state vegetable for North Carolina, and collard greens were proposed, and corn, but none of them ever passed the motions. In the 1990s, fourth grade students from Elby Street School in Wilson petitioned for the establishment of the sweet potato as the official state vegetable after being inspired by a visit from their local congressman, Representative Gene Arnold.
They have a collard green festival. Do they have a sweet potato festival?
Yeah, I'll get to that. So they got the support of their parents and their school, and they started writing letters. And after 2 years of work, in the summer of 1995, the bill was passed, and the sweet potato became North Carolina's state vegetable. And the last bit of notes I have before we start eating is there is a North Carolina sweet potato festival. It happens on this year was May 17th through May. This year was May 17th through May 19th. And it's in Elizabeth City.
Why'd they have it so early? You usually harvest sweet potatoes later on in the year.
I thought about that when I seen it. It seemed earlier in the year for a sweet potato festival.
Of course, that's the coast. So
yeah, so we missed it this year, but maybe next year we might check that out.
I want to go to the collard green festival because that's right beside Skylight Inn.
All right. I'm not a huge fan of sweet potatoes, not like Jamie. But we're gonna go do some of this.
You want to? Well, what do you want to start with? I'm probably gonna say you're gonna like that the least.
Let's start with that.
Get down, Curtis. Our cat's name is Curtis.
Yeah, she wasn't telling me to get down.
See, his name was Curtis at the animal shelter when we adopted him, and we just didn't think we wanted to change it. Okay, now you gotta get down. Okay. Yeah. Peanut stew?
Yeah.
Or do you want to try? Well, you might like those. I think for a little bit of texture, because you're not going to like the texture, we can drop a little bit of this crispy garlic chili oil. Would you like that?
Yeah.
I could eat this stuff out of there. And it's.
So what is this?
It's chickpea and sweet potato stew. It's basically you saute an onion and the sweet potato, and then you dump in a can of chickpeas with their juice, and you let it simmer until the sweet potatoes are done. And then you stir in, well, you also stir in some coriander, which is the seed of cilantro, and then peanut butter.
Okay, I can smell the peanut butter.
I did not have any creamy peanut butter, so we got crunchy peanut butter. I don't know how well you can taste it.
It's not bad.
If I had some collard greens, I think I would have put some collard greens in there for color, because it's not very,
Yeah, it's not pretty, but
You actually liked it?
Yeah, it's not bad.
Would you eat it again?
If it was fed to me. All right. Do you want to do the chili next, or
You can do the
pinwheels?
pinwheel.
So what's in these?
If you had been listening, I took a tortilla, cream cheese, some cheddar cheese, homemade cranberry sauce, and mashed sweet potato, and just rolled it up.
Okay.
The recipe, I don't know if that was the recipe, how it said to do it, but I know the recipe did call for cilantro, and I just didn't feel like going out and picking any.
Unlike that, you can really taste sweet potato in this. It's not terrible.
I think it needs some red onion.
Yeah, maybe something else.
I didn't have any red onion because I forgot to pick it up, but I would have put red onion.
What's next?
Quesadilla or French fries?
Let's do the French fries.
I just fried these in pan-fried these in a little bit of oil, and I seasoned them. I see a lot of recipes that use cinnamon and sugar, but I like a more savory sweet potato, so I took some cumin and salt, garlic powder, smoked paprika, and a little bit of chipotle powder.
Did you eat a pinwheel?
Yeah.
Let's see. The sweet potato fries are probably my favorite
They probably would have
iteration of sweet potatoes.
They probably would have been better if they had been hot. And I done a chipotle ranch. You can do chipotle mayonnaise. Just take ranch or some mayonnaise and throw in some either pureed chipotle peppers or some chipotle hot sauce like Tabasco.
All right.
That's pretty good. You want to do the scones last?
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to do chili or?
Yeah.
We'll
do chili. Sweet potato chili.
Yeah, and I just sauteed I bought a pack of chorizo, and I sauteed that with an onion, and I threw in some pureed sweet potatoes, and a can of black beans, and a can of diced tomatoes.
That's really good.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, it'll be dinner this week. And I didn't season it except with a little bit of salt and some chipotle chili powder because chorizo is already seasoned. It's got a nice spice from the chipotle.
Yep. Yeah, I like it. I like the spice.
It's going to have a similar taste because...
We got cheese on it?
Yes, it's white cheddar, chorizo, and sweet potatoes. I season the sweet potatoes with garlic and smoked paprika and chipotle.
Yeah, damn good.
And you're gonna have chili and quesadillas.
Yep.
I don't want a whole quesadilla. I've been nibbling all morning. I didn't try these though, so I don't know how.
Very good.
In my head, it sounded good. If I had chipotle, if I had done the chipotle first, I would have put some chipotle on there. It's not bad. I don't generally like chorizo, but you want some butter for your scone?
Oh, yeah. And by the way, if you're not interested in the tasting and see part, I'm sorry I didn't say goodbye to you, listeners.
Maybe you can go back in there.
Yeah, you don't have to stick around for this whole part. But if you are interested in the tasting and see part,
these are actually vegan except for the chocolate chips, and I didn't have chocolate chips. Vegan chocolate chips. Is that too much butter?
No.
I thought chocolate chips and pepitas was a weird combination with sweet potatoes, but it came from America's Test Kitchen, so I'm like, I trust them.
Yep.
How was it?
That's good.
I would have done cranberries and walnuts.
All right, let me chew this scone up, and then I'll wrap this show up.
What was your favorite?
Probably quesadilla and chilies. That scone's pretty nice too, though.
I was worried about it because they were really wet. And it called for non-dairy creamer. And I sometimes have non-dairy creamer, but I didn't. So I had to use like almond milk. And I was worried it would affect. And I didn't have coconut oil, so I had to use shortening.
Well, it's taking me a minute to chew this thing up.
That is pretty good. I was worried about though. Anyway, if you want to know how to make any of this stuff, just Google it.
Yep. Oh, my mouth is tired.
I just wanted to show that there's more to do with a sweet potato than pie and casserole.
We specifically avoided a sweet potato pie just because that's what everybody does. And I told her I didn't really want to do a sweet potato pie. So there's more to a sweet potato than just
Yeah, you can make sweet potato black bean burgers. You can roast it like a baked potato and open it up and put some black beans and some salsa and sour cream and have supper.
That's all I got for this episode. I hope you enjoyed listening. I hope you didn't mind the change in pace. I don't do too many shows where I mix BNC Everything podcast and Tasting NC, but it does happen occasionally, especially around the holidays. You got anything else? All right. Well, thank you all for listening. I'll talk to you next time.
Bye. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Yep.